The Hub, 2nd of June 2023, experts caution that elite capture may be a more significant issue than the Chinese government's intimidation strategies. Experts caution that the Chinese Communist Party's elite capture initiatives may be a bigger problem than the Chinese government's scheme to intimidate Conservative MP Michael Chong and his family in Hong Kong, which continues to take center stage on Parliament Hill. According to prominent academics, including a former ambassador to China, while the Chinese government's drives to court high-ranking individuals worldwide, Canada's political and economic elites may have been the most eager and arguably the most willing beneficiaries. Christian Leuprecht, a professor at the Royal Military College and Queen's University and a senior fellow at the Macdonald Laurier Institute, believes that elite capture is a severe issue in this country. The political, economic, and social consensus between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal are all affected, especially the Laurentian elite. Look at the essential cabinet members, they are all from that triangle. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau selected former Governor-General David Johnston on March 15 as a special rapporteur looking into foreign meddling in Canadian elections. Johnston received harsh criticism when he stated on May 23 that there would be no public inquiry into foreign meddling. On May 31, opposition MPs voted a motion urging Johnston to resign as rapporteur, but he refused. While some opponents have emphasized Johnston's friendship with Trudeau, others find a conflict of interest in Johnston's extensive travel record to and promotion of China. Johnston traveled widely in China while working for McGill University in the 1980s, and he has called Nanjing University his second home. 3 of Johnston's children studied at Chinese universities, and Johnston himself has spoken as a guest speaker at CCBC sessions. The CCBC is a lobbying organization that promotes closer economic ties between Canada and China. The CCP's primary strategy of overseas influence and interference is to capture elites in politics, business, media, think tanks, universities, and cultural institutions, claims Clive Hamilton, an Australian professor of public ethics at Charles Sturt University in Canberra. It uses a variety of strategies, such as bribery, honey traps, financial incentive, and the exploitation of anti-American and anti-racist feelings. Hamilton claims the CCP's policy has been quite effective in Australia and Canada. Still, the former resisted much more forcefully when the Australian government and populace became more aware of China's actions there. Hamilton claims that key figures in the Liberal Party have had long-standing ties to the CCP, not least through business connections. Some important Canadian industries would suffer if there were any trade problems between the two nations. A recent canola conflict cost the sector almost $2 billion because 40% of Canadian canola exports go to China. Leuprecht asserts that the minister is unlikely to advise the Chinese ambassador to quit interfering. The ambassador will advise the minister to proceed cautiously since doing otherwise could result in some Canadians losing their shirts to China. According to David Mulroney, many Canadian elites, who represented Canada in China as ambassadors from 2009 to 2012, do not get to see the country outside of the gleaming new airports, cutting-edge trains, and enormous cities that its government has recently constructed. According to Mulroney, they see the China of the very potent rhetoric of the Communist Party. I've said it before, and I'll repeat it, Chinese leaders are CEO whisperers. They are very, very skilled when meeting senior foreigners. Mulroney claims that many people only see China in their minds. Mulroney claims that China lures individuals because it arouses an overwhelming amount of affection, curiosity, and a desire not to use specific critical thinking skills. In the 1990s, the Prime Ministers of Canada and Australia, Jean Chrétien and Paul Keating, supported strengthening ties with China while they were in power. After leaving politics, both have worked for or with Chinese corporations. In Keating's case, he spent 13 years on the China Development Bank's Advisory Council, which the government manages. Keating and Chrétien remain critical of the deteriorating relations between China and the West. According to Hamilton, Keating, and Chrétien, they belong to a generation that considered the opening of China as a momentous occasion in world history that they had a hand in. When they arrived in China, the CCP used its highly developed psychological skills to flatter, groom, and coax them. When they left office, riches materialized before them as Chinese business prospects. In CCP lingo, they developed into old friends of China, which is code for apologists. According to rumors, Canada's Pacific allies, the United States and Australia, may not have enough faith in the country to accept their participation in new security pacts like AUKUS, which is partly designed to balance China's geopolitical influence. In 2006, David Johnston managed the opening of a Confucius Institute on the university's campus while serving as its president. Confucius Institutes, which purport to educate people about Chinese culture and language, have been charged with conducting espionage on behalf of the Chinese government. The institutes have also been accused of encouraging the stifling of opinions favoring Taiwanese and Tibetan independence.